How has a microscopic organism, the 2019 coronavirus, managed to spin the entire globe into a state of chaos? In less time than it takes the Earth to complete a single orbit around the Sun, this invisible enemy infiltrated every corner of our world, leaving no nation untouched. Beginning as a whisper of a strange new illness in the bustling markets of Wuhan, China, the virus quickly found its way across continents, carried by the very signs of our interconnectedness. Our bustling airports, our crowded city streets, our global supply chains. Governments, caught off guard by the rapid spread of the virus, scrambled to implement measures to control it. Borders were sealed, economies ground to a halt, and our bustling cities fell eerily silent. The global economy took a significant hit. From the US Chamber of Commerce warning about the potential for the Indian economy to falter due to a surge in cases, to economists at Bank of America downgrading their forecast for US economic growth, the economic ripple effects were felt everywhere. Sectors like tourism and retail shopping, which heavily rely on person-to-person interaction, were hit particularly hard. Our healthcare systems too were pushed to their limits. Hospitals overflowed, supplies of personal protective equipment ran dangerously low, and healthcare workers faced burnout as they fought relentlessly on the front lines of this health crisis. But perhaps the most profound impact has been on our daily lives. Our homes became our workplaces, our children's classrooms, our gyms. We've learned to communicate through screens, celebrate milestones virtually, and navigate the world while keeping our distance from each other. The coronavirus pandemic has indeed left an indelible imprint on our world. But how did this global health crisis pave the way for political turmoil? As we delve deeper into the ripple effects of this pandemic, we'll uncover the intricate web of global events that unfolded in its wake. As the world grappled with the pandemic, a conflict was brewing in Eastern Europe, the war in Ukraine. This war, which began in 2014, was a result of political tensions between Ukraine and Russia. It escalated in the midst of the coronavirus chaos, creating a ripple of uncertainty that spread across the globe. The origins of this conflict can be traced back to Ukraine's decision to foster closer ties with the European Union, a move that did not sit well with its eastern neighbor, Russia. This political discord led to the annexation of Crimea by Russia in 2014, triggering a series of events that would eventually spiral into a full-blown war. As the world was fighting an invisible enemy in the form of the coronavirus, Ukraine was faced with a very visible one. The war in Ukraine escalated amidst the pandemic, further complicating an already precarious situation. It led to a drastic shift in the political landscape of Europe, straining relations between Russia and the West. But the impact of this war was not confined to Europe. It reverberated across the globe, affecting economies and political alliances. Countries like Austria forecasted economic stagflation due to the war, and Kenya's economy was projected to grow at a slower pace because of its impact. The war also disrupted global trade, adding to the economic fallout of the pandemic. The war in Ukraine served as a stark reminder of how political discord can escalate into a crisis, even amidst a global pandemic. It brought to light the fragility of peace and the importance of diplomatic dialogue in resolving conflicts. The war in Ukraine, a tragic consequence of political discord, has not only affected Europe but also reverberated across the globe. But there was another conflict that also left its mark. In the midst of global chaos, the Israel-Palestine conflict took a turn for the worse. This age-old feud, steeped in religious and territorial claims, has been a long-standing issue of international concern. But the recent escalation has seen an unprecedented increase in violence and tension. During the pandemic, when the world was grappling with an unseen enemy, the Israel-Palestine conflict was flaring up. There were several violent incidents, including the armed Israeli police raiding Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem's Old City, leading to clashes with Palestinians. These events, broadcasted worldwide, triggered a shift in global perspectives on the conflict. But what led to this escalation? There are layers of complexity here, but the primary reasons are rooted in religious holidays, political maneuvers, and the ever-present struggle for control over the Holy Land. The tension during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan and the Jewish holiday of Passover exacerbated the situation, pushing the conflict into a new phase of violence. The ripple effects of this conflict go beyond the borders of Israel and Palestine. It influences the political landscape of the Middle East and shapes the dynamics of international diplomacy. Countries worldwide are forced to tread a fine line, balancing their strategic interests with their stance on human rights and international law. The conflict has also triggered a wave of protests and civil unrest in various parts of the globe. From New York to London, citizens have taken to the streets, expressing solidarity with the Palestinians and demanding an end to the violence. However, the impact is most deeply felt by the ordinary people living in the conflict zones. Their lives are marked by fear, uncertainty, and the constant threat of violence. The international community's inability to broker a lasting peace agreement only perpetuates their suffering. The Israel-Palestine conflict, like a festering wound, continues to affect the stability of the Middle East and the world. But what implications do these global crises hold for our future? As we turn the page towards 2024, we are left wondering, will there be a resolution? Or will the conflict continue to smolder, igniting sporadic fires that the world struggles to douse? The domino effect of these events has plunged the world into a state of crisis. Let's take a look at the panorama of global crises that have unfolded. Europe, along with the rest of the world, has been grappling with a myriad of challenges. The pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and the Israel-Palestine conflict have all played a part in creating a global crisis unlike any other in recent memory. For starters, the pandemic has created an economic crisis of epic proportions. Economies worldwide have contracted, with countries like India, Austria, and Peru revising their GDP growth forecasts downwards. The global shipping crisis, brought on by a surge in demand for goods, labor shortages, and the blockage of the Suez Canal, is another factor fueling inflation and disrupting global trade. This crisis is expected to persist until 2023, adding another layer of complexity to the economic recovery process. Then we have the war in Ukraine, which has not only caused immense human suffering, but also created economic reverberations that have been felt around the world. Austria's WIFO Institute predicts that the country's economy will experience stagflation due to record inflation rates caused by the war. Meanwhile, Kenya's economy is projected to grow at a slower pace due to the impact of the war and the slowdown in global growth. The Israel-Palestine conflict, a long-standing issue, has taken a toll on global peace and stability. The recent escalation in violence has further exacerbated tensions, leading to a shift in global perceptions of the conflict. The repercussions of this conflict are not just confined to the Middle East, but have implications for global politics and diplomacy as well. These crises have not only rattled economies and disrupted politics, but they've also profoundly impacted ordinary people. Job losses, inflation, supply chain disruptions, and increased insecurity are just some of the many challenges people are facing today. In the Gulf states, for instance, the population has seen a decline due to the exodus of expatriates after the coronavirus crisis and lower oil prices. This has repercussions for the regional economy and poses challenges to diversifying away from the hydrocarbon sector. These are testing times indeed. The world is navigating through a storm of crises, each one feeding into the other, creating a complex web of challenges that are deeply interconnected. The global crisis is not just about health, economy, or politics in isolation. It's about how these elements interact and impact our lives in profound ways. These crises have changed the way we live, work, and interact. But the question remains, what awaits us in 2024? As we look ahead, the year 2024 may seem like a beacon of hope or a harbinger of doom. The global landscape is evolving rapidly, and the implications of current trends, from health to economy, politics to society, are yet to fully unfold. In the realm of global health, the repercussions of the 2019 coronavirus pandemic continue to resonate. We anticipate a world still grappling with the aftermath, even as we hope for advancements in treatment and a return to some semblance of normalcy. The need for global cooperation and dynamic health policies has never been more pronounced. The economic sphere offers a mixed bag of prospects. On one hand, we foresee countries like Dubai and the Gulf Cooperation Council states rebounding from the pandemic-induced economic slowdown, with GDP returning to pre-crisis levels. Yet signs of stagflation in Austria and slowed growth in countries like Peru and Kenya serve as stark reminders of the lingering economic challenges. On the political front, the conflicts in Ukraine and between Israel and Palestine may still be significant factors influencing international relations and global stability. The resolution of these conflicts, or the lack thereof, could dramatically shape the geopolitical landscape of 2024. Societally, we might see an increased push towards workforce nationalization and a continued exodus of expatriates from countries in the Gulf region. The global shipping crisis, if unresolved, could continue to fuel inflation and delay the traffic of goods until 2024, affecting everyday lives and global economic recovery. In the United States, the growing sympathy for Palestinians could potentially reshape the country's policy on the Israel-Palestine conflict. As sympathy for Palestinians reaches new highs among Democrats and political independents, we could see a shift in American foreign policy come 2024. Looking ahead, the year 2024 is poised to be a year of reckoning, a year shaped by the triumphs and trials of the past. The future may seem uncertain, but it's clear that the events of the past few years will continue to shape our world in 2024 and beyond. In this whirlwind of global events, we find ourselves standing at the crossroads of history. The past few years have shown us how interconnected our world truly is, from the global impact of the 2019 coronavirus pandemic to the ripple effects of conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East. The pandemic has highlighted the importance of global cooperation and health preparedness. It has affected economies, societies, and individual lives on a scale that few could have imagined. It has tested our resilience, but it has also sparked innovation and has shown us the power of human solidarity. The war in Ukraine has reminded us of the fragility of peace and the potential for conflict to escalate swiftly, with far-reaching consequences. It has underscored the importance of diplomacy, international law, and the need for robust systems of global governance. The Israel-Palestine conflict has shown us the complexities of historical disputes and the deep-seated issues that fuel them. It has highlighted the need for dialogue, understanding, and the pursuit of justice and equality for all people. As we look ahead to 2024, we are faced with a world of uncertainty. The aftermath of the pandemic, ongoing conflicts, and the global crisis are all factors that will shape our future. But amidst these challenges, there are also opportunities for growth, for learning, and for building a better world. As we navigate this complex world, it's crucial that we stay informed, stay safe, and work together for a better future. Stay engaged with the world around you. Keep asking questions, keep seeking truth, and above all, keep striving for a more peaceful, equitable, and sustainable world. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Your curiosity and engagement are what drive us to delve into these complex topics. Until next time, take care.